introduce a Saturday Fight Night exclusive. Rolly Romero versus Teofimo Lopez. They must go all in. Put up or shut up. August 22nd. Watch on DAZN and DAZN on Prime Video.
Get up, you son of a bitch! Cause Punch Drunk loves you.
Hey. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all know that Teofimo Lopez is going to be fighting Rolly Romero this Saturday, T-Mobile's Arena. DAZN, pay-per-view, Amazon Prime. And I'm trying to figure out which Teofimo Lopez is going to be showing up. Which Teofimo Lopez is going to be showing up? And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it like this. I think that's going to be a tag on Teofimo Lopez for the rest of his career until he retires. Any fight that he goes to, which Teofimo Lopez is going to be showing up? Is it going to be Teo versus Comey? The Teo that knocked out Richard Comey in the second round is it going to be a great display, a masterclass performance like he did versus Arnold Barbosa in the Times Square card? Is it going to be the George Camboso fight? Yeah, that was a scary one. They ain't the Teofimo Lopez that we really like to see. Not that Teo. No. What about the Shakur Stevenson fight? I mean, not that one. Not that one. What about the Jermaine Ortiz fight? I mean, like, damn, Jermaine Ortiz ain't really want to fight. He wanted to be on his bike, but damn, everybody was criticizing Teofimo Lopez whether he's gonna cut the ring off. But what about the Josh Taylor one? Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. That was a good one. He got right back on his horse. The underdog. We already know how Teofimo Lopez is when his back is against the wall. The Lomachenko. Y'all already know that's the one. That's the real takeover. The takeover. The Josh Taylor. The takeover. But which Teofimo Lopez going to be showing up versus Rolly Romero this Saturday, T-Mobile's Arena? Y'all already know that Rolly Romero last fight was versus Ryan Garcia, in which he defeated Ryan Garcia. A lot of people didn't think that Rolly Romero was going to beat Ryan Garcia. I think a lot of people was even looking past Rolly Romero because a lot of people was paying attention to the rematch, was anticipating the rematch between Ryan Garcia and Devin the Dream Haney, which it could still take place as a unification bout, even though that Ryan Garcia going to be facing Conor Benn in September. The welterweight division is interesting. It's just as interesting that when Terrence Crawford and Keith Thurman and Earl Spence, Manny Pacquiao and Danny Swift Garcia and Sean Porter and Ugas, when they was running and the emerge of Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, then some of them went retire, injured, retire, lost, went to the 154, and it seemed like the welterweight division was going to become like a little ghost town, like the middleweight division, but it did it. Right away, these guys move up to the 147-pound division like Ryan Garcia when he beat Mario Barrios. Devin the Dream Haney beating Brian Oman Jr. Teofimo Lopez has now come up from the 140-pound division after his defeat versus Shakur Stevenson, and Rolly Romero became a champion. So now it's really amping up. But the question will always still remain, which Teofimo Lopez is going to be showing up? And not only which Teofimo Lopez is going to be showing up, which Teofimo Lopez Sr. is going to be showing up. As you all know, he's done a wonderful job as becoming a 2020 Trainer of the Year versus Vasily Lomachenko. But then there was a lot of criticism of the instruction that he was given versus George Camboso. But then it was great instruction when he gave Teofimo Lopez versus Pedro Compa. And Jermaine Ortiz fight, a lot of people didn't like that. It was unsatisfactory. The Steve Claggett fight was but the Josh Taylor fight, he was a great trainer right there, right? Giving great instructions. Great instruction and great game planning versus Arnold Barbosa. But then, once again, as he took accountability for how he was not fit to be in the corner, not fit to give the instruction in which Teofimo Lopez felt he needed from his father and trainer to adjust to a Shakur Stevenson. It's so many layers of Teofimo Lopez. It's so many layers to his game. which it could be the gift and the curse. Well, the gift and the curse is how he performs, the ups and downs, the roller coaster, the highs and the lows, and the unsatisfactory. And then, and also he performs like he's the pound for pound number one. When Teofimo Lopez performed versus Vasily Lomachenko, when Josh Taylor, after those fights, you're like, man, I don't think nobody could really beat him. But then he usually turns around and give an underwhelming performance. But even with all those performances, you can see the layers in Teofimo Lopez that when he puts it all together, he could be a very unpredictable fighter. And he got layers to his game. He got a lot of tools in the toolbox. The way that he performed versus Vasily Lomachenko is kind of different the way that he performed versus Richard Comey. It's kind of different the way that he performed. The way that he performed Josh Taylor was kind of different than he performed Arnold Barboza. You know what I'm saying? We seen the warrior, like even though that even George Kambosos defeated Teofimo Lopez in a split decision victory that could have gone either way, really. I think a lot of people were just surprised with George Kambosos that right away George Kambosos, but it could have gone either way. It was a split decision victory, right? But it also showed the heart of Teofimo Lopez. That's one thing. Teofimo Lopez wants to fight, and it shows the heart. In each and every other of his fight, it shows the heart. It shows the eager. Yes, Teofimo Lopez wears his emotions out on his sleeves, in the ring and out the ring. Sometimes maybe the emotions gets the best of him. That's why I believe, and there's any true weakness of Teofimo Lopez, it's more mental. Like his father said yesterday in the not the media workout, but the introduction and stuff like that yesterday in Las Vegas, he said that when his mental is right, he's good. Nobody could stop him. I believe so, to be honest. I always said that the worst is Teofimo Lopez, like he's mentally strong in one thing, but could be mentally flustered in others. Right? The outside heckles, the outside of not giving the credit in which he deserves, how the politics of the sport of boxing and play or tampered with his legacy. Like with Vasily Lomachenko, that was supposed to be and was promoted as undisputed, but then with the WBC franchise and things of that nature, tampered with the legacy of Teofimo Lopez. Everything that he worked for, people wanted to dispute. That's why in my book, I've recognized him as a lightweight undisputed. In my book, I do recognize him as when he beat Josh Taylor, as the first two division in the 4-belt era, 2-division undisputed world champion. In my heart, but I understand it's not recognized. But if Josh Taylor never would have vacated his belts, then Teofimo Lopez would have been undisputed in the 140-pound division. If it wasn't for the WBC franchise, then Teofimo Lopez would have been recognized undisputed by the whole world versus Vasily Lomachenko. So by the age of 25, he would have been the first in the 4-belt era that will be crowned the first male 2-division undisputed world champion. So I give him that. He's a 2-time lineal, written. So which Teofimo Lopez is going to show up? First, it was when Teofimo Lopez is an underdog that he rise to the occasion. But Teofimo Lopez was the underdog versus Shakur Stevenson, and he didn't rise to the occasion. When he was the underdog versus Vasily Lomachenko and Josh Taylor, so he had a reputation that being the underdog, he rise to the occasion. People want to say, well, he doesn't do good with boxers, right? That's what the narrative's saying, that he doesn't do good with boxers that be on the outside and things of that nature. But in all actuality, he didn't lose to that type of quote-unquote slick fighter. His first L was versus George Kambosos. George Kambosos is not known for that slick style like a Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney type of style. So that was his first defeat. So he's got defeated with a guy that's coming at him, throwing combination of punches and stuff like that and hitting him in between shots. And then he took an L versus a Shakur Stevenson that's known highly defensive but stood his ground and just was pot-shotting his way through victory. But then also a lot of people say, well, he could have cut the ring off versus Jermaine Ortiz, right? But he actually I think the guy that has the best footwork in their era is Vasily Lomachenko. Teofimo Lopez has done good versus southpaws, right? His best win was versus Southpaw. So there was a lot of, in my opinion, there was a lot of, certainties and security. And also, I thought that he was going to do great versus Shakur Stevenson because his best wins was versus Southpaws. So there is we just don't know which Teofimo Lopez is going to be showing up. And I'm talking about the Teofimo Lopez at the highest level because we've seen Teofimo Lopez win fights when he's just like 70% of himself. But when Teofimo Lopez, when the intellect and physical ability is coexisting at the highest level, damn it, I don't think that nobody could beat Teofimo Lopez. When the physical ability and intellect is coexisting at the highest level, ladies and gentlemen, I just don't think that anybody could. I'll pick Teofimo Lopez as the favorite. So, which Teofimo Lopez is going to show up to be Rolly Romero? I think that stylistically, it favors Teofimo Lopez versus Rolly Romero. But also, we cannot neglect that Rolly Romero really seems like he got better, looked like he got more patient. Let's not forget, even when Rolly Romero did lose, he looked like he was boxing pretty good versus Gervonta Tank Davis. If it would have kept going like that, and Gervonta Tank Davis never would have caught him, then we'll be talking about that Tank. It was going to be a tough outing. He did pretty good versus Ryan Garcia. When he dropped him, he didn't go for the kill. He was still disciplined. He was still patient. Unlike when he fought out there in San Antonio on a co-main event to Castillo and Charlo, in which I think he got a couple of points taken away or low blows, rapid punches or whatever. It was kind of ugly. But shout out to Salas, the Cuban trainer. But it's always going to remain which Teofimo Lopez is going to show up. So even if he beat Rolly Romero and become the WBA welterweight champion of the world, and we have a unification bout versus Devin the Dream Haney or a unification bout versus Ryan Garcia, the winner of Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn, which Teo is going to show up? The beauty about that, though, is that it's a good selling pitch. See, let me tell you like this. Suspense sells. You know what I'm saying? Perception sells. Because what we don't do, sometimes what we think we know, but we don't know, we just not sure. I know we might see something special, but we might not. That sells. The anticipation sells. That's what we need in the sport of boxing. It's interesting. I heard this word a lot with this fight. It's an interesting fight. The bookies have Teofimo Lopez as the favorite, but if you listen to more people in the sport of boxing, they believe that Rolly Romero is going to beat Teofimo Lopez. But I believe the reason why, because I think every boxing eye, people with a boxing eye, every boxing eye know that Teofimo Lopez, stylistically, technical-wise, is better than Rolly Romero. He got more in the bag. But because you don't know which Teofimo Lopez is going to show up, that's when you're picking Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero hasn't been in the ring in a year. Teofimo Lopez is back in the ring. Matter of fact, Teofimo Lopez got back in the ring first than Shakur Stevenson, and Shakur Stevenson actually won. Teofimo Lopez could have picked anybody. Shout out to the best manager in the sport of boxing, Keith Connolly, put his fighter right back in the position for a big fight, pay-per-view, and they could have got an easier fight. His father, Teo, Keith Connolly, and the team have stated that Teo had an opportunity just to pick a fight where he could get his confidence back and things of that nature. But look, he picked a champion. And the good thing about Teofimo Lopez that a lot of people don't give him credit for in this generation is that Teofimo Lopez is one of the very, very few that got his first title without being a vacant title. Let's not forget Devin Haney got elevated as a champion, right? When the WBC tampered with the legacy of these men and came up with the WBC franchise in the division, right? He got elevated. He didn't earn it. So even in the beginning of Devin Haney's career, there's been a lot of criticism because of that. But he did his thing when he defeated the guy. He beat the guy that beat the guy, right? And George Cambosa became a lightweight undisputed. And his resume is good as well. Shout out to Devin Haney. But a guy like that, his first time being a belt holder, he didn't earn it. Shakur Stevenson fought for a vacant. Do you understand? A lot of people fought for a vacant, but Teofimo Lopez is going to be his fourth opportunity to become a world champion, to earn a belt by beating a champion, and arguably the best in the division. Who is better, right now in the welterweight division? Who has proven themselves, in your opinion, better? Who has the best win? I mean, right now, arguably, look, Devin Haney beat Brian Noma Jr. Rolly Romero beat Ryan Garcia, which aged well because Ryan Garcia beat Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios, I believe, that has the better win before these guys moved up when he beat Yordenis Ugas in the Canelo Alvarez card. So even though a lot of people didn't feel too much about Mario Barrios, let's be honest, he had a good win. He beat the champion to become a champion. Ryan Garcia lost Mario Barrios, and so forth. So, who had the best win? Had the interesting is Ryan Garcia came out of a win versus Devin Haney. I understand people are going to be like, well, the Osserin, but I don't think that Osserin beat Devin Haney. I think that Skills beat Devin Haney when it came to Ryan Garcia, and I'm gonna stand on that. Even though that yes, there was Osserin, but I don't believe that Osserin elevated his skills, nor was the true deciding factor. No. So Ryan Garcia was coming off, even though a year layoff, but was coming off of one of the best wins in boxing. Rolly Romero beat that. So in all actuality, in my opinion, I believe that Rolly Romero have the best win in the welterweight division, and it could be argued. It could be argued because Brian Noma Jr. he had a good win, but versus who? So I think that the Ryan that Rolly beat, right? And it was supposed to be Ryan serious, right back in his in training hard, in great shape, and all of that. He beat that Ryan Garcia. So it could arguably be said that the best welterweight right now could be Rolly Romero. I'm saying arguably. I think right now in the welterweight division, they all got a lot of things to prove. They're around the same level right now. Yes, Devin Haney is more accomplished, but I'm just talking about just alone in the welterweight division, right? So, if Teofimo Lopez defeats Rolly Romero, arguably he beat the best in 147. In 147 alone. He beat the best in 140, and he beat the best in 135. That's why if Teofimo Lopez beat Rolly Romero, he's going to be up on my pound for pound, up real high on the pound for pound list. Because compared to the others, he's beating the champion to be a champion. He's beating the guy to be the guy. And then the guy to be beat. Because if T.O. beats Rolly, right? Then the triangle theory, and I know there shouldn't be no triangle theory, but it will be more interesting. I'm not saying one is better than the other as of right now, but what I'm saying is arguably and debatable. We can have this dialogue when we go live that, you know, is everybody's on the same level, and it's good for us as boxing fans. I really don't want to know who's going to win. I think in the welterweight division, this is going to be very, very interesting because most of the fights and the champions is 50-50 fights. It's fights that we don't know who truly going to win, who truly going to show up. After Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, his game plan. And then he picked up the pace. He got back into the winning column. Ryan Garcia, we thought that he was going to be very, very good after the Devin Haney, and look how he performed. Rolly Romero, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, look how he performed versus Tan. Look how he performed, but then look how you know what I'm saying? Teofimo Lopez, we don't know which Teofimo Lopez. Then we don't know which one anyway. We don't know who's going to show up, and that's the beauty about this welterweight division. And the beauty about this welterweight division is the names that we've been linking to match up and fight. These are the names in the welterweight division, one of the most lucrative division in the sport of historically in the sport of boxing. But what about if Rolly beats Tio? What about if the best Tio that we think shows up, but Rolly elevated his game right in front of our eyes and got better? If Rolly beats Tio, then where's Rolly? Then Rolly has a Ryan Garcia and the Teofimo Lopez, and a Ryan that beat Devin, and a Ryan that beat Mario Barrios. Then Rolly Romero is going to come out of the smoke because he was never part of the new age 4 kings. But then that right there, Tank resume would age better than Floyd Mayweather's resume when he beat Canelo Alvarez, because that Canelo Alvarez win aged very, very well for Floyd Mayweather. And I believe that if Rolly beats Tio, Shit. Gervonta Davis resume aged very, very well. I got Teofimo Lopez beating Rolly Romero. And yes, I believe that Rolly Romero, arguably, with Devin Haney right there. And man, look, again, arguably, you could say that Rolly Romero has the best win in the welterweight division out of all of them. But hey, it just makes it interesting because after this fight, the winner of Rolly and Teofimo Lopez unification bout with the winner of Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn is just going to be a great 2 years watching the welterweight division. Hopefully they could make it a year and a half and stay active and get the fights that the fans want to see. The money is right there on the table. I believe all these guys should be looking at each other and say, you know what? Let's make generational wealth. We don't even have to look outside of this circle. If Shakur Stevenson want to come to the 147-pound division, hopefully Keyshawn Davis, you know what I'm saying, his team get the paper right, get whatever he feels is valuable to him, you know what I'm saying, and get in the mix. That will be good for the sport of boxing, and especially in the welterweight division. What about if Conor Benn beats Ryan Garcia? And then we get maybe a Conor Benn versus Teofimo Lopez. They both got the same manager. That's an easy fight to make. Let's also not forget Richardson Hitchens. Man, the welterweight division is a sight to see. And now one of the most interesting divisions in the sport of boxing, along with the 154 most stacked division in the sport of boxing, which I call the landmine. Anybody could get it. Man, it's getting too interesting in the sport of boxing. The only thing is that we hope that they captivate the imagination, the emotions of the boxing fans. We want the great fights, and we love the great matchup. But these guys have to do just more than just want to win on the scorecards. They have to inflict pain. They have to be entertaining. Look, we got Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, but let's be real, let's be honest. I was in Madison Square Garden, it was sold out, but it wasn't electric. It wasn't electric. And maybe the blame doesn't go to Shakur Stevenson because he just did what he had to do to win. And everybody looking at the guy that's known to be entertaining and Teofimo Lopez. When Teofimo Lopez is a happy camper, Teofimo Lopez is one of the best and the best entertainer in the sport of boxing, top 3. Best entertainer. Hopefully we see that Teofimo Lopez. We see the flash that Teofimo Lopez had with the Rich Comey before that. In the lightweight division and the way that he performed versus Josh Taylor. I believe that this fight could be like, it could go either way, in my opinion, with Teofimo Lopez winning. He will win this fight like he did versus Richard Comey. I believe that Richard Comey and Rolly Romero have some similarities and stuff like that, where they just power hitters. They're not really as polished and technically like a Teofimo Lopez. And I think he's gonna have some openings. I think that Teofimo Lopez is gonna have a lot of openings. There's gonna be a lot of wide shots, awkward shots. I believe that yes, Rolly Romero, if he lands some punches, he could hurt anybody in the welterweight division. He does pack a punch. We could see it if Teo wins. We see it like that with Rolly Romero. I'm sorry, if Teo beats Rolly Romero, we see a performance like that he did Richard Comey, or the way that he did versus Josh Taylor. If he loses, I could see a performance the way like a George Camboso. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if Rolly Romero, if Rolly throws a lot of shots like that, but the way that the only way I could see him losing to Rolly Romero got to be like the one that he did with George Cambosa. The way I could see him winning is the way that he did with Richard Comey and Josh Taylor. I don't think Rolly Romero is anything like a Shakur Stevenson, nor like a Lomachenko, nor like a Jermaine Ortiz, or maybe I could see it like a Arnold Barbosa. Let me know which Teofimo Lopez is going to be showing up. Y'all already know. Subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button. This is Punch Drunk. Y'all already know. You haven't get to the DAZN pay-per-view. Get your pay-per-view. Use the promo code PUNCHDRUNK20. Y'all already know, man. It's going to be an interesting weekend in the sport of boxing. This Saturday, T-Mobile Arenas on DAZN. Subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button. Love you. God bless. And on to the next.
Produce a Saturday Fight Night exclusive. Rolly Romero versus Teofimo Lopez. They must go all in. Put up or shut up. August 22nd. Watch on DAZN and DAZN on Prime Video.